Hello, 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 Crossroads Witches and other interesting magical beings and folks. I'm so happy I'm back. I know many of you have reached out with, "Are you okay, Taren?" I'm okay. January for me thus far has been I've gotten a new phone, I've gotten a new laptop, and I got COVID. And all within weeks of each other. Okay. Uh, Good news is I'm learning to use my phone. My laptop only sort of intimidates me, and I am recovering from COVID. I am fine. I was vaccinated. I followed all of the doctor's orders, and I guess fatigue is the biggest thing for me, and I wasn't able to do videos. I wasn't able to do actually much of anything. Um, I just laid in bed, drank fresh ginger root tea, and gave my body time to recover. And so, with that said, there's the update for me, and I want to talk about a really deep and dark subject that ought not be deep and dark, and that is shadow work. I've noticed here, I noticed in October actually, some folks were talking about it. And first, I want to say this is one witch's opinion. This is what I've learned after being in the magic community for 40 years now, is the dark half of the year is not a good time to do shadow work, to go dark within ourselves. And I'm going to tell you why. Obviously, I'm going to tell you why. The reason is during the dark half of the year, especially during the time, the season of the dead, Halloween, Samhain, all right, that is when we are communing with spirit ancestral folks. We are welcoming ancestors into our realms, all right? The dark half of the year is really not the time of growth. If we look at Mother Nature, that's sort of a time to harvest. That's a time to, keep the things we have safe and things like that. Light half of the year. When I say this, this is from winter solstice to summer solstice. All right, December 21st, June 21st. During the light half of the year, all right, think about what Mother Nature does. Think about what we see within the animal world. Within nature is something called spring cleaning. We all do it. We talk about spring cleaning our houses. Well, shadow work is a lot like spring cleaning. And for some of us, if we've never done it before, we got a big mess behind us. For others of us, it's about maintaining, because you find that every year gives you new shadows. All right. And it's keeping it ongoing. And I'm not saying you can't do any type of shadow working any time of the year. All right, that we have a lot of amazing exercises out there. I have a pile, I'm going to talk about them. All right, I'm going to go through it. Y'all know I got notes, okay? Because this is a pretty deep subject, and I see a lot of, unfortunately, misinformation, and I don't think that it's purposeful misinformation. I think shadow work has become trendy. Something to talk about, oh, well, I know I'm jealous, it's a shadow, ha ha, funny, funny. All right, and not really understanding when we talk about what shadows are, our shadow self. First, we start by talking about Carl Jung. All right, he's the really smart psychoanalysis guy that wrote some really cool books. All right, and then we get into Freud, and this is very deep mental health type issue, mental health type practices. All right, now my disclaimer: I have no medical license, no medical training. all right? My qualifications come through because of my spiritual connections, where we work on wanting to develop a deeper spiritual connection with divinity and ancestral realms. We have to heal ourselves. We have to heal our ancestral lines. Magically, magic comes from within. So if I want to be a stronger, big, badass witch, guess what I got to do? The magic is in here, so I got to work on fixing in here, healing in here. So I am going to be talking from a spiritual and a magical perspective, all right? Medically, from a mental health point of view. If you find what I'm talking about a little too difficult, maybe you need to go see a therapist, all right? Mental health, mental health, mental health. Please reach out. Do not go through these things. These things can trigger some dark things that you have going on in your life that maybe you don't have the tools yet to learn how to deal with it, all right? I'm working on the basis, like I said, spiritually, magically, working our shadows so that we can strengthen our connection to divinity and spirit realm, and so that magically we can access the magic that's already within us, all right? Just want to make sure, get them out there. So, we done talked about what are these shadows for different types of shadows. I could do a whole video on that. I'm going to do a very quick overview. Many of us deal with family traumas. Many of us deal with relationships. Over the course of our lifetime, we've developed what are called triggers, all right, where we may feel shameful because of an experience or something that happened when we were a child. And I also want to talk about the fact that some of our shadows are good things. We always think a shadow is envy, hate, greed, all these dark personality traits. Well, for some children, if you were told to sit down and be quiet, then your bright, sparkly personality may be a shadow. Because as a child, you were told that wasn't acceptable. You were told to sit there and be quiet, all right? So you have this beautiful, bright, sparkly personality that you feel that you can't show anybody because you have been taught as a child that that's not a part of society. So your shadow is bright and sparkly, all right? Whereas others have darker shadows, all right, and have triggers. Like, I'm not going to get into that because I am not qualified. But they are a part of you. And first, it's not about getting rid of them. It's about learning the both good and bad, the balance, the dark and the light. Our weaknesses become our strengths that we think are really our weaknesses, and learning to look at ourselves objectively. That is the first part of shadow working. Often it's referred to as a Socratic approach. The Stoics, Socrates, or if you like Bill and Ted, Socrates done told me this. But what it is about is looking at yourself, looking at the situation objectively. If you have a traumatic instance, being able to go back and look at it almost as a third-party type situation where you are the observer, all right? We have to remember when we're doing shadow work, the biggest things we are not doing is assigning blame on yourself or others, all right? We are not looking to justify or qualify our behavior or our actions, okay? And I hope, like I said, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, and I'm trying to keep that rabbit hole right where we can work it, okay? But there are, when we go into shadow work, we need to go into it from a place of mindfulness. Second technique when working shadow work, all right? Like I said, first is learning to look at our past objectively, without assigning blame or without looking to qualify or justify our behaviors. Okay, the second thing we want to do is learn mindfulness, to be able to be in the present moment. When we are doing that, then we are in a place of gratitude. When we're in a place of gratitude, we can have compassion and kindness. Compassion towards yourself, all right? Shadows are all about us. This is about me. I can change me. I can't change them. But what we find within shadows is we're not compassionate to ourselves. We're not kind to ourselves, all right? And this is where we can get into the inner child and going back and giving your younger self a hug, all right? But mindfulness, meditation, okay? That is part of mindfulness, learning to sit in the moment. All right, I'm blowing through my notes pretty good. I have to say, y'all, I'm pretty proud of myself. All right, and this is where the other thing I brought up was triggers, where you see somebody you don't like them or some behavior makes you just really upset. And learning to look back, a lot of times what we don't like about somebody else is what we actually see within ourselves, and we don't want to acknowledge it. Just saying. Honey, Mercury ain't in retrograde. You need to take accountability for what you're doing. Okay? So, now we're, let's see here. Look, give me one more second. Okay, I went to, like I said, I'm blowing through my notes. Okay, here we go. I'm back on track. All right. So, why do I want to do shadow work? Because it increases my intuition. As I said earlier, it strengthens my relationship to divinity and to spirit realm. And when we start getting into our shadows and really understanding our own personal vulnerabilities, is you become empowered. All right. Y'all heard me talk, I've said it a couple times, talking about I know my name. I know who I am. All right. And that's part of that empowering is I know my weaknesses. All right. I know where I got to work on it a little bit. And I accept that part of me. I also know I'm really good. That balance, learning to see myself for who I truly am, not looking in the mirror and seeing just a whole list of crap stuff. All right. And this is the, what is it? According to one of the smarty pants people, Dr. Stewart, shadow work is necessary for anyone who wants to become fulfilled and self-actualized. I love that phraseology. We talk about speaking our authentic voice. Shadow work is part of authentic voicing, learning who I am. All right, and the last one I want to say is, of course, go to others for help. If you are too overwhelmed with what I'm talking about, please, please, please go tell someone, get in touch, all right? Reach out for help, okay? Again, we want to start with coming from a place of mindfulness and gratitude, ground, shield, and protect. We can use all different words for it, but you need to be in the right headspace is what I'm saying to you, witch. All right? And let me flip it. And now we're going to talk about what the shadows are. Childhood traumas and different childhood traumas. Shadows are within our own ancestral family trees. All right? And shadows are sometimes just what society's done to us. All right, be a toxic work environment for several years was very good to creating shadows. All right, so now that we've done all of that, like I said, I've learned to look at it objectively. I can do that through meditation, or I can journal. And I want to show you, this is my little notepad. You know, I have a little binder and I write notes Sometimes I write the shadow side of it, where I do write out those dark thoughts, and then I'll flip the page and go for that stoic approach that's, you know, of looking at it as a third party and writing down the other side of it is what has helped me. You can get pretty journals. Y'all know we are so blessed to have so many amazing journals. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, these are called healing crystal cards. I really like this little deck, and I was surprised at how dark it got, and wanting me to contemplate and ask questions about myself. So if you are an oracle card person, look for a set of darker themed cards. Another thing we have is shadow journaling. And this little book was given to me by one of our beautiful House of Witchcraft witches, Violetta. I'm giving you a shout out, sweetheart, and I love this book. This is one of the darkest shadow books I've gotten a hold of so far. It's full of journaling prompts. It's called Burn After Reading. It's little notes that ask you some really dark questions about yourself. All right, and you write it out. Actually, what I like to do with this book is where, here's the question. The biggest hole left in my life was by, and this is an examining a hurt. And I'll take that question and come sit in my altar and think about, you know, who left the biggest hole in my life? And let that emotion, let that remembrance, and also let that acceptance and potentially forgiveness if I need to forgive myself. Because again, shadow work is about ourselves. We're not working on forgiving other folks, okay? All we got to do is find acceptance, compassion, understanding, look at it with kindness, but I don't have to forgive people. That is not part of shadow work unless you feel that is what you need to do, witch. All right? But it's not a requirement. Okay? This is, again, about changing our own perceptions, you know, challenging ourselves and what we have as truths. And I've also found out that there's some other shadow journaling books, and I have ordered a couple, so I will keep you witches updated on what I think. But so far, I am loving Burning After Reading. And like I said, this is spring cleaning. We're getting there, witches. As that earth warms up and those, you know, we see animals coming out of hibernation. They're cleaning out their nest. That's our time, our energy to lean into. I recommend, you know, depending on where you live, the February, March, April, all right, that full moon cycle. Challenge yourself to 28 days of shadow work. Challenge yourself in some way to use that moon cycle to get all up in it. All right. And this is something here at the coven at the Cottage Witches in San Diego. We do shadow working as a group. We are I'm not going to say closed group because we are primable, but we're not necessarily open. We don't typically do public things. And one of the things that we do, again, February, March, April, it depends on the cottage schedule. Look at your schedule and how you're feeling about things. But what we do is we all come together, get in a circle, and we have a group shadow working that is, you know, I've been hurt by others. I've hurt others. Others have lied to me. I have lied to others. We have a whole very oral, verbal working where we all acknowledge that we've been hurt and we've hurtin'. Hurtin'. That's a southern word in case y'all are wondering, all right? We have hurt folks. We have been lied to, and I have lied to people. And saying it out loud in front of a trusted, supportive group, we're very lucky, like I said, my moon brothers and sisters. We get to heal together. We get to acknowledge that, you know, we are both this. We are both dark and light. All right. And then we do strive to be good witches, but that's not always our truth. And that doesn't make us all bad. It's just this instance we had, and I learn better, I do better. But there's something very powerful when you're able to stand in a group of folks and say these things out loud to acknowledge some of our darker aspects. That's another type of shadow working, all right? And if you're lucky enough to do that, if you know, you can also, just standing in front of your own altar, go through that verbalization and saying it out loud and releasing it. That's where you can stand and be like, I release fear, I release doubt from my life. And when you acknowledge that you have fear in you, then it's easier to let it go versus going, no, I ain't afraid. I ain't afraid. Y'all know what I'm saying, all right? And of course, I'm going to tell you, if any time during this process it's getting too heavy, tell a friend, all right? This is part of mental health. Always be aware of that. And another recommendation I'm going to give is I have gotten my hands on, this is a new book, and it's called Wild Wisdom Companion. And it's by, what is it, Maya Tolls? And the illustrations are by Kate O'Hara. And I do want to say the illustrations are magnificent. But what I want to do is, this is a guided journey into the mystical rhythms of the natural world, season by season. And what I really love about this is she goes dark. This is a year of journeying within yourself. And I really like this book. I've started working it, and I wanted to let y'all know. We have so many tools out there, and so reach out, find one that works for you, all right? And a lot of times they say journaling, you need to journal, you know? If you're not a journaling witch, like meditation, mindfulness, objectivity, all right? And the one thing I do want to end on is, what was it? Was what Carl Jung, that really smart guy that knows all about the id, the ego, and our brains, says, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. All right? Wisdom comes from experience, and sometimes experiences hurt. And learning to look back at our experiences and finding the wisdom, all right, the lesson that we've been taught by that, and finding a place for the pain to be able to dissipate it, let it go, all right, you know, and I hope all this helps. Of course, I'm going to say, if you're new here, if you are a new witch, novice witch, beginner witch, welcome home, welcome home. This is a pretty heavy video to start with, all right? I always recommend our first year witches, let's sort of watch our shadow work. Use the first year to get to know you. You have other years where you can find out how truly messed up you are. All right? We do shadow work all the time. It's not a one and done, like I was saying earlier. And of course, I want to say thank you to the YouTube members. Yes, your support has been amazing. And if you would like, you can join YouTube channel support, and when I'm shooting these videos, so that I have the time, the availability, and all of that. All right. That is what that is for. I'm making some changes once I can find the button. I can't find the button right now for that membership thing. But witches, I'm not doing any more exclusive videos, no member only video. I just don't like that. I want to, YouTube, this is my way of giving back to the community. I know there's a lot of beautiful, bright young witches all around the world, you wonderful dark things out there. And I want you to hear this, okay? I've been blessed. I've reached that point in my life where I do have good stories. I do have good wisdom. I have knowledge, all right? And this is a great medium to convey that. So please, if you would like to support my YouTube channel. Now, if you want to get up into my community, House of Witchcraft, we have 13 moons to the crossroads, all right? Self-assisted, guided initiation dedication to the crossroads. I love for you to come. You can go to houseofwitchcraft.com. Of course, sign up for the newsletter. That's free. We send out good blogs. We have free PDFs as well as other PDFs for a small price. All right. You know, this is about the trying to keep it fair at the same time for us. So we try to keep everything we do very realistic. All right. I think I said it all, witches. I hope I have with doing shadow work. I want to hear your comments on your experiences with shadow working and what's working for you. Please leave a comment. Other witches read those comments. I read those comments. I know we've all learned so much from each other. So please get down there and participate. All right. And with that said, witches, you know, it never changes. It's always the same. So I'm going to say it again. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe and H.o.W.